Romans 5 verse 17 states a legal reality, not a poetic idea. For by one man's offense death reigned by one, much more they which receive abundance of grace and the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one, Jesus Christ. This verse does not describe a future hope. It defines a present operating condition. According to Paul, reigning in life is the normal result of receiving the gift of righteousness. Where righteousness is misunderstood, believers live beneath their inheritance. Where righteousness is established, authority follows automatically. The problem: reign versus survival Christianity. Many believers are sincere but unstable. They live in cycles of confidence and collapse, strength and shame, effort and exhaustion. The root problem is not lack of discipline. It is identity confusion. Paul contrasts two reigns: death reigning through Adam, life reigning through Christ. There is no neutral ground. One reigns or the other does. The believer who remains sin-conscious lives under practical influence of Adam, even while professing Christ. That is why Romans doctrine must be taught with precision. Righteousness is a gift, not a reward. Romans 5 verse 17 is explicit. Righteousness is received, not achieved. If righteousness were earned, reigning would be inconsistent. Authority would fluctuate with performance. But Paul anchors reigning to a gift, not behavior. This means authority is not produced by moral effort. Confidence is not sustained by self-evaluation. Stability does not come from perfection. Righteousness is a legal standing granted by God through Christ. Once received, it establishes a believer's position permanently. You do not reign because you behave correctly. You reign because you are positioned correctly. What it means to reign in life. Reigning does not mean arrogance or dominance over people. It means authority over conditions. Biblically, reigning includes exercising authority instead of reacting to circumstances, living above condemnation rather than under self-judgment, walking in victory over sin rather than constant repentance cycles. A reigning believer does not deny temptation or pressure, but does not submit to them. Reigning is not loud. It is settled. Sin consciousness produces defeat. Sin consciousness focuses a believer inward on failure, weakness, and inadequacy. It trains the conscience to expect collapse rather than victory. When sin consciousness dominates, prayer becomes hesitant. Faith becomes conditional. Authority becomes theoretical. This is why many believers know the scriptures intellectually but hesitate to act on them. Internally, they do not see themselves as qualified. Sin consciousness does not make people humble. It makes them unstable. Righteousness consciousness produces stability and authority. Righteousness consciousness shifts focus from self to Christ. It anchors the conscience in what has already been accomplished. When righteousness consciousness is established, confidence becomes consistent. Faith becomes decisive. Authority becomes natural. The believer stops asking, "Am I worthy?" and begins acting from the reality, "I am accepted." Authority flows from identity. Identity flows from righteousness. From ruin to reigning is a legal transfer. Romans 5 is courtroom language. Adam transferred ruin. Christ transferred authority. Reigning is not something you work toward. It is something you step into by agreement. When a believer refuses condemnation and agrees with God's verdict, reigning becomes experiential, not because circumstances immediately change, but because authority has shifted. The believer no longer reacts from fear. They respond from position. The core conclusion: you cannot reign while arguing with your righteousness. As long as a believer treats righteousness as fragile, authority will be inconsistent. Once righteousness is received as final, reigning becomes inevitable. Romans 5 verse 17 is not optional doctrine. It is the blueprint for new covenant living. The gift of righteousness is not about moral pride. It is about restored dominion. From ruin to reigning by one man, Jesus Christ.